Supersonic Flight, reworked weather and new planes are all things coming to Microsoft Flight Simulator over the next few weeks. The latest Q&A from Microsoft also discussed improvements to clouds and terrain morphing. So let's take a look. Next month brings the Game of the Year edition of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Included with that free upgrade will be the FA-18 Super Hornet. Naturally, an officially supported jet fighter is quite a change for the game, and by extension it brings a few new developments with it. Unfortunately, there's still no footage of the FA-18, but there's some new information on it, so here we go. Perhaps most notably for a lot of people will be the Supersonic Flight. The jet will be able to reach Mach 1 at sea level and Mach 1.6 at around 30,000 feet. Yes, I'm fully aware that some third-party planes have been able to achieve high speeds for a while now, however this is now officially supported. Perhaps more importantly, and I know a lot of people have been asking for this, the plane will come with sonic booms. It will also come with an accurately modelled afterburner which correctly models thrust and fuel consumption. The FA-18 will feature fly-by-wire tech with two different modes for that. It will also feature photorealistic cockpits along with a culminated HUD, which basically means that it will be able to focus into infinity. Another feature will be a fly-by-wire tech which will have two different modes. Now I'm absolutely certain that somewhere in the comments down there someone, if not one person, many people are going to be asking, is it going to be as good as a DCS World plane? Well, personally I think that's an unreasonable expectation, as an FA-18 in Flight Simulator serves a completely different purpose to an FA-18 in DCS World. But all that said, time will tell. The update will release in November. The next update will add DirectX 12 as an option. This will be available in the options menu. The sim will load by default into DirectX 11. This can then manually be switched to DirectX 12. If the sim crashes, it will revert to DirectX 11. And this is basically to ensure that the sim can still be launched if there's any serious bugs with DX12. Now, there's unlikely to be any performance gains according to Microsoft, and I think a lot of people have been suspecting that for quite a while now. But no word yet on if there'll be any new graphical options such as ray tracing. In terms of issues, there are some DirectX 12 VR bugs currently, but Asobo are looking at fixing these. Eventually, DX12 will become the default version, but that won't be for a while yet. Whilst there has been some testing carried out, it's impossible to test all PC configurations, so this is why it's going to be an option initially. Microsoft and Asobo are aware that weather needs to be improved. The November update will go some way to achieving this, however details on this are limited. Improvements seem to be focused on forecasted weather. The focus then for improvements mostly, it appears, is on live weather, at least for now. Asobo want all of this to be visually correct, and I know quite a few people over the previous months have certainly been pointing out various issues in that regard, so hopefully this is going to be quite a help there. Now each monthly update seems to mention helicopters, and right now it seems they are still quite a long way off, although Microsoft is still insistent they're going to be making an appearance in 2022. Microsoft are also currently in the stages of choosing a new partner that they will be working with on helicopters. There are 3 potential candidates here in the run-in, and Microsoft need to narrow down this to just a single one. No word yet on when that will happen, but it seems that work is underway. In terms of localization, Chinese localization should be complete by January, so Microsoft are expecting to make that live during February or thereabouts. Moving on to gliders, Microsoft have chosen a partner who will be developing sailplanes for the sim. The goal here is to ultimately gliders will natively take thermals into account, so there's quite a lot of work that needs to go in this particular aspect. Whilst there are some third-party sailplanes right now available, and I'm sure people will be pointing that out to me, they are all requiring external apps to function correctly, much in the same way that helicopters still require external apps. Eventually, gliders then will be fully supported inside the sim. The plan is that simmers will even be able to read the clouds in order to get a visual on what is going on with thermals and other environmental factors. So basically, it seems Asobo and Microsoft want to make this as realistic as possible. In other news, we can expect to see a new plane very soon, the Antonov AN-2. This plane will be published by Microsoft in partnership with AT Simulations. This is a part of a new series of planes called Famous Flyers. These planes will be coming alongside future sim updates. In the on-screen footage, you can see a brief demo of the plane in action. This footage was taken from the recent Q&A with Microsoft and Asobo. It will be priced at $15 and will be released later this year. In related news, Microsoft want to make full release manuals for each of these planes. That's the current one, or the upcoming one, as well as the Yonkers U. Now, this isn't something they have ready just yet, but it is something that they are planning on. So yes, full manuals for those who want them. Moving on to a couple of bugs, the avionics still seems to be a bit of an issue. This is where the screen blanks out during a flight. Asobo briefly touched on these problems, and it seems that the whole issue is caused by 3 separate bugs, so it's not just a single issue. One of these involves the sim incorrectly draining the plane's battery and therefore causing the avionics to black out. Fixes for all of these issues are underway, but there's no date yet on when we can expect to see the fix, hopefully though in the next sim update. In recent times I've noticed a fair number of people pointing out problems with the Sims clouds, or at least that they're seeing problems with the Sims clouds. It's not something I've seen myself, I think they look pretty good, although people are often saying why the cloud's good in my footage and not in theirs, so possibly this is something that doesn't actually affect everyone. Anyway, Microsoft have said cloud improvements are coming at some point. In part, this will be based on improvements to how the sim interprets live weather data, so that essentially the clouds inside the sim will match fairly accurately the clouds in the real world according to the actual weather data that's available. But there will also be some other improvements here which will eventually allow a case of offering more options within the sim to allow simmers to further customize the weather. Additionally, the long-term plan is for further refinements and further improvements to the overall sky and cloud technology. Focusing down from the sky, down to the ground, it seems that terrain morphing isn't something that's going to go away anytime soon, at least not in its entirety. Asobo say that is in part due to the problem of lower quality terrain data in certain regions. They feel that morphing will improve as data improves. Microsoft have actually hired a new team of 8 people, or a team of 8 additional people, whose job it is to gather new data for all the regions around the world, that is terrain data and elevation maps, all the rest of it. So over time this is certainly going to help. But that said, Asobo are also keen on making changes to the way that the sim currently changes from one level of detail to another. And this is something you'll notice as you're flying along. The terrain will pop from one level of detail to another one, and that's basically what causes the morphing to the terrain meshes. Currently, the level of detail changes happens over a period of 16 frames. That's why it looks so abrupt. They want to make this change much smoother, so essentially it's a transition that will happen over half a kilometre or something like that. However, all of this will take a lot more development time, so it's not something that we're going to see immediately. At any rate, that brings us to the end of most of the details raised in this week's Q&A. Do let me know in the comment section below what stood out for you. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.